Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report Spotlight. Today we have a returning guest, Gregory Mannarino. He's the creator and owner of TradersTrust.net. He has his YouTube channel, Gregory Mannarino. He does a video almost every single day talking about the economy, and I am very happy to have him back on the X22 Report Spotlight. Greg, welcome back to the Spotlight.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me back.
Hey, thanks for being back here. Hey, let's just start off with the economy since you talk about this all the time. I wanted to get your view on how you think the economy is doing right now.
Right now, not too well. I mean, we just got, GDP report 2016, the lowest year since 2011. So we're going nowhere. I mean, we were all fist fed the recovery lie narrative, the fake news, for the better part of a decade. With that said, thank God we got Trump now. I think our economy will turn around under this president. I think he's doing all the right things at this point. I think the stock market's gotten a little ahead of itself. I've been talking about that lately. But we couldn't have gotten any worse. I mean, anyone who's got even one functioning brain cell, I think, is able to see, where we were going, understanding the real numbers that regarding the labor force participation rate and the money velocity and those unfortunately needing some type of public assistance. I mean, our country was going down the toilet. And again, the GDP for the entire 2016 was the lowest since 2011. So we were going nowhere fast. I think there's a lot of hope maybe that things will turn around and we'll get a real recovery as opposed to this fake one that all we've been told about, but it was lie after lie after lie. And all I can say is I'm just thankful that we got someone now that I think is going to make a difference for the average person.
When you say the economy will recover, I mean, right now, we're in $20 trillion worth of debt. It's even higher than that. I mean, all the unfunded liabilities and things like that. And manufacturing is being shipped off. I know he's been talking about bringing jobs back, and, companies been promising, we're going to, bring on 20,000 jobs, 10,000 jobs here. But with everything that's been done and everything that's been manipulated, I mean, we're not even talking about the real economy right now because a lot of the numbers are fake. A lot of the numbers have been, recalculated, manipulated, massaged. So do you really think that he can actually turn this whole thing around in time?
Interesting. Let me just start off with this. The 20 plus $trillion in debt that we are in is not going to get better. What people need to understand, and this is what I've been trying to say, even since the election here, for years and years, I've been telling people that we're in a bubble. The debt is in a bubble. I think you would agree. It's been in a bubble for many, many years. It's not going to stop. I've stressed the importance of becoming your own central bank. That means that you need to be betting against the debt at every chance you have. That means holding a hard asset, getting your hands on gold and silver, more specifically silver. It's my favorite investment, bar none, period. I still believe it's the most undervalued asset in the history of the world. So what we need to all understand is we are living under the umbrella of a debt-based economic model which will not stop until it does. Personally, I think this bubble should have burst a long time ago, but they have found ways, they mean the central banks, to keep forcing the world deeper and deeper into debt. It won't stop. This is why, again, my immediate fallback is how important it is to keep betting against that debt. So the debt's going to get worse globally. It's not going to it can't stop. It's the nature of the system. It always demands ever increasing debt again until it just doesn't work anymore. So now, with that said, we can expect the global debt to continue to balloon. There's no doubt about it. We just will keep doing it until we end up in a worldwide a collapse of the system. It is coming. There's no doubt. But for now, at least, I hope that by bringing companies back here to the United States, by creating jobs, maybe, hopefully, the average person out there will do better than they did under the last president, who fostered a wealth transfer like we've never seen before. But you don't hear any protests about that. How the middle class has been fleeced. Anyone holding an interest earning account has gotten absolutely destroyed, while the wealth has been transferred to the upper echelon of society underneath President Obama. I hope this is going to change. Will it change? I don't know. It always seems that that's the way that society goes. There's always that movement of monies to the upper end, but hopefully this will change. I don't know if it will or not. I just hope it will. But regarding the debt, again, people need to understand that it's not going to stop until it does, until it's forced to, until the system just has swallowed so much debt that it starts to choke on it. And we're there, there's no doubt about it. But these central banks have been very resourceful with keeping it inflated.
Do you think we'll run into a problem with what's happening out in Europe? Because the Brexit vote, it looks like they're going to implement Article 50 in the UK, and the central bank in Europe, they're a little nervous now, because if the UK goes through leaving the EU, we know that Italy wants to do it. We know that France wants to do it. Do you think this is going to have like a ripple effect on the US if the EU starts to break apart?
Absolutely, it would, 100%. Look, there's going to be a moment where there is some event that triggers people to run for the door with regard to holding debt. It's going to happen. And this is not speculation. This is a fact, because it's in a bubble. I think we can all agree on that. It's been in a bubble that keeps getting bigger. It's just the magnitude of it. Once it reaches that critical mass, and could something like that trigger it? It could. There's no doubt. We always have to be ready for it. This is why, again, it's just so important to be betting against it, to be holding a hard asset, and understand that the whole system is built upon a fairy tale that it will just continue going on forever, and that it will just, nothing will interfere with it. It'll just be fine. Nothing could be further from the truth. We've seen this before repeatedly through history, when we have these fiat monetary systems which just reach a critical mass and they implode. What's going to be the triggering event? Could it be something out of Europe? Absolutely. Could it be something else? Absolutely. I wish I could give a clearer answer on it, but I do believe, yes, you're right. It could absolutely disrupt what's occurring here in the debt market. Let me just say this, and I'm not just the only one saying it. I've been saying it for a while, but there are some pretty lofty people out here on Wall Street saying, hey, the bond market, the bull run that we've had, it's over. So we're going to start to see things change here with regard to how I think the entire monetary system evolves from this point forward. Again, because we've been relying on, literally, most of us here have only grown up mostly in this environment where we've had this bull run in the bond market, which is over now. It's not just Greg Mannarino saying this. A lot of people saying it. So we have to be ready for a new type of something, I'm not even sure. But again, it just goes back to being kind of ready for everything, and always understanding that we are existing in a financial fantasy land that at one point is going to realize it has absorbed all the debt that it can possibly take. And then there's going to be a big, big problem.
Now, what about the stock market? I know you follow this every day, and there are people out there saying that, listen, the market is way overvalued and it's going to be coming down. I think Harry Dent is out there saying that the market's going to drop between 50 and 70%. Charles Nenner is saying in the third quarter of this year, he believes that the market's going to start to come down. What do you see with the market? Do you feel like it's going to continually, go up, 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 or do you think it's something, there's going to be a correction?
Well, there's going to be a correction. I've been very bullish on the market since Trump was elected. I've been capitalizing on that as well. That's what I do. I personally don't care really which way the stock market goes. I'm just looking for indicators to tell me how to place my cash in this market to work. Is the market going to face another moment of a crash? Without any doubt, absolutely yes. Could we lose 50% of this market or more? Absolutely yes. Is it going to happen? Absolutely yes. When? I have no idea. I really don't anymore. And I just, because again, this stock market has been hyperinflated on the back of this debt bubble, which seems to be unstoppable at this present time. So it's nearly impossible to say, and I don't even speculate on it anymore, because again, it's gotten way, way, way more than anyone could have imagined. I think actually. So we just play the game. We just play the game, realizing that it is going to happen. And we know this for a fact because it always happens. The market runs up, comes down, up, comes down. And this is the action, I mean, and you know this, of central banks that deliberately inflate and deflate these bubbles. This is a cycle that has been in effect since the inception of world markets, and it will not ever stop. But I think the key here is to learn how we all can make it. If we understand that the market does run this way, and we understand that it's manipulated that way, we can all make it work for us. There's no doubt about it. So we just look for opportunity. And the biggest one of them all, again, I'm going to go up on my fallback for a million years, is to become your own central bank and understand that the debt isn't a bubble. And at one point, again, this is going to correct. And nobody can say it's going to be this month or that month, at least anymore. My worry, I'll be honest, is that now that President Trump has taken office, are they going to do something while he is in office so he can be blamed? Look, this entire thing should have come down under Obama, but we had an absolutely politicized Federal Reserve who did everything possible to make sure that stock market was moving higher because that was their only fallback. He would always say, well, look at the market, it's higher. Yeah, sure. So, certain people have made out like bandits while the rest of the population has been fleeced. And, now that's not the case. And I don't think under this president we're going to have such a politicized Fed. So I think that could make a difference moving forward. Am I saying it's going to come down under his tenure? I don't know. It could come down tomorrow. We don't know what that thing is out there lurking that's going to start people running for the door. Is the stock market overvalued? I think it is overvalued. But a market can stay overvalued for a very long time. In fact, an overvalued market is bullish. It's bullish. People think, hey, a market's overvalued, so that means it's going to come down. Absolutely wrong way to think. An overvalued market means there's a lot of people that are just really being very bullish about it at that time until it's not. So an overvalued market, I don't look at it as a sign to say, well, now's the time to get short this market. I've been telling everybody on my channel, let's start getting long this market. Let's buy. Let's look for opportunities to get assets right now. Except now that we're into February with the seasonality, we need to start getting short. Just this past Friday, I told people I was a little leery about this market. I said, let's watch this market. I'm hedging my positions because I think something is going to happen. The market plunged 400 points since that time. And I frankly made out like a bandit. I was shorting stuff all over the place. I'm still net short this market. Anyone can see my positions. Go to my website, traderschoice.net. I'm not, then there's always opportunity. I mean, just yesterday, I put up on my website, people, start buy calls on Alcoa, ticker AA. It was up 5% today. You know what that means for the option? It was ridiculous. I mean, I made a fortune today. I'm not going to lie about it. A lot of people did that wrote to me, hey, Greg, nice call. But that's what it's all about. It's about understanding where we are. It's understanding that there's opportunity no matter what happens in this market right now. And that's just the way, look, like I said, I don't care where it goes. I personally don't care if it goes up or down. I just want to know where to place my cash to make it grow.
Now, Trump he ran on the campaign that the economy wasn't doing well. He was going to bring back manufacturing back. People didn't have work. We were losing jobs, and he understood that people were having problems out there, even though the unemployment was at 4.7%. Now, the question is, now he's in office. Does he realize that the economy is worse off than it really is? Because he is the master of bankruptcy. I mean, he knows what to do. He knows how to handle a business that is losing money, that can't sustain itself. And he's in a position where the country is in a bad position. It can't sustain himself. Do you think that you think he's going to go, oh, you know what? We need to bring this thing down. We need to start over. Do you think he's thinking that at all?
I think if he could do that, he would do that. If you're referring to like some type of a debt holiday or something, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, he can cancel the debt. He can maybe take over the Fed and dictate to them what he wants done, almost like what Putin has done to their central bank, his central bank.
The issue, it's interesting that you're talking about this because I was on a long conversation with Greg Hunter about this just like 2 days ago. The problem is when people say, oh, let's have a debt forgiveness, let's have a debt this, what they don't realize is the currency itself is a unit of debt. So if we were to say we're gonna forgive 50% of the debt, we're gonna forgive that, the currency would hyperinflate within seconds. And that would be it, period. Again, it's the nature of the beast. It's a debt-based model. You can't forgive the debt. You can't do anything with the debt other than continue to inflate it. There's no other way to make this work. And Trump knows this very well. Again, I think has a clear understanding of how the system works. It's very unfortunate that we do not have a wealth-based system anymore that is a commodity backed or a gold standard, that we have a system backed by nothing, that we have a runaway that all the developed nations around the world are married to, with no way to get out of it. A central bank that has control of the system. That means they control every single aspect of our lives. That's really the truth. This is the core issue with this debt-based system. We are now, unfortunately, slaves to it. So the central banks have us by the you-know-whats because they know we can't forgive the debt. They know there's no way to write it down. It just can't happen. If they did, the currency goes poof, and that's it. We go back to the Stone Age overnight. We end up in the Road Warrior. And they know that. So I don't know what he's going to do with regard to that. I think he understands that it is going to hit a critical mass, that there is going to be a point where everyone is running for the door at the same time to get away from holding these unbacked liabilities known as debt, or even the currency, which is also, again, a unit of debt. And it's going to be very, very, very ugly when that occurs. I believe personally that there will be another major war. We've been on the threshold of it for a long time. Are we going to end up in another war to keep all of this propped up longer? The central banks will make sure of it, one way or the other. Look, the one who controls the cash controls the world, and that's who's really running the show. We have to put that into perspective as well. Look, I back Trump, no doubt about it. And I'd like to believe that he is in control as the leader of the free world, but this is just simply not the case. The central banks are still controlling everything.
So when you say war, like you're saying with Russia or Iran or China, like what do you see coming?
I think that before the central banks would allow anything to interfere with their action, they will find a way to get us. It's the central banks, they're going to do it. And they'll finance both sides of the wars like they always do. They will bring us to war. This is what they're going to do at one particular point. And again, that's another cycle that people just aren't used to Although we have been at war for a constant war for decades here in the United States, does anybody have any doubt as to why we're in a constant state of war? Again, what generates more debt than any other endeavor in history? It's war. War is a very expensive endeavor. So that's the reason why we have been in a constant state of war since forever. Why it will never stop. Why the world central banks will make sure that it never stops. Why the world central banks will make sure that if they need to escalate it to continue to inflate the debt, they will do that as well. There's no doubt. It's just a very evil system. That again, we need to all remember, it's a debt-based model that demands that debt be borrowed into existence in perpetuity, and it can never, ever stop until it does.
So we have the debt ceiling vote coming up in March. And during Obama's term, he brought us up another $9 trillion. So what do you think if Trump, if they go ahead and they say, okay, let's raise the debt ceiling because we have all these programs and everything that the government's doing, the debt's going to continually rise and continually move up. And the tax revenue, I don't know if he can bring enough jobs in to keep up with the amount of debt. And if interest rates start to move up, we're in big trouble here.
Exactly. And there you go. There's going to be a point where the system starts to choke on the debt. Is it going to be tomorrow, next week, next month when they raise the debt ceiling? There's no doubt that they're going to raise the debt ceiling. They have to raise the debt ceiling. Let me just put another perspective on this. Just as President Obama had to double the national debt, which took 240 something years to build up the first half, he had to double it in 8. In order to sustain where we are now, just where we are now, it'll have to be doubled again, probably in a shorter period of time. So the system is counting down. There is no doubt about it. So just again, think about it. To sustain where we are, we have to continually add to the debt. It will need to double in a shorter period of time, which is pretty much not sustainable. But they're going to try to do this. And you're right. There's not going to be enough tax revenue, no matter what they do. So there is going to be a moment here, beyond any doubt, that the system implodes. It is going to implode, absolutely, and it's going to be devastating, biblical, more than likely. But again, we can't put a finger on it, and we can't say it's going to be here or it's going to be here, but we know it's coming. And all the stuff that you're talking about right now is just so relevant to where we are going. And none of this is going to continue to go on without a terrible price to pay in the end.
Now, the Fed is out there, and after they raised the rates in December of 2016, they said they were going to raise the rates, maybe 3-4 times in 2017. Already they passed the first mark and they said, oh, no, we're not going to raise the rates. Do you really, truly believe they're going to be raising the rates another 3 times this year?
Absolutely not. Last year they were supposed to raise it 4 times. They raised it once. It's funny that we just had we just heard from the Federal Reserve the minutes from the last meeting, and there's not even a hint of when. As a matter of fact, I came out on my channel. I said they sounded very dovish to me. They didn't even make even a reference to when they were going to raise rates again here. Look, they understand everything that you're saying. If they're really in a bad spot. The market doesn't believe them anymore. They've become irrelevant in many, many ways. They say one thing, they do something else. They keep moving goalposts. They understand that all the stuff that you just talked about is coming together. It's building and building and building and building. And I just think that they're probably thinking about what can they do next. Where's the next major war going to be? How they're going to be able to pull more debt into existence. Again, war is the greatest debt-creating endeavor that's known to man. So they're going to make sure we not only stay in little conflicts all over the place, but they're going to bring us into more wars, worse, unfortunately. And I tell you, I really feel bad for the young people today. It's not going to be good for them at one point.
Do you think that Trump will do anything with the Fed? Do you think he'll try to take it over or make them more transparent? Do you think he'll audit the Fed?
I think Trump can. I think he's going to get a wake-up call here if he doesn't have it already. I do believe that he understands that he's not really running the show here. The show has always been run by central banks. It always will be run by central banks. And we'll just have to see how that plays out. There's a lot of talk about it. There's a lot of stuff going on here. But the Fed's going to fight back in every way that they can. All the world's central banks are going to do that. And there is no way they're going to give up power. There is no way. It's just not going to happen without some serious consequences again. And what's the biggest one is to get us into more wars, unfortunately.
Before the interview, we were talking about what was happening out in Berkeley with rioting and people, just getting very upset and destroying property. And this was over someone giving a speech that they didn't want this person to give a speech. I mean, that's why they were rioting. When you're talking about the entire system coming down, what do you think these individuals are going to do when everything starts to fall apart? If we're seeing what they're doing with, something as meaningless as a speech, how do you think it's going to be when the whole thing starts to fall apart?
I think there's, again, it goes back to what I've been saying for the longest time. People will be rioting in the streets of every state in the union, pandemonium. That's what will happen here. It'll be biblical. It'll absolutely be biblical to see, and it's very frightening. It really is, and I think that this next collapse, because of the debt bubble, has the potential to eclipse everything that we've seen before and then some. The crazy part of it is it's going to happen. We just don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I think we'll probably get a better picture as this year progresses and we start to see conflicts around the world probably starting to erupt in different parts of the world. Unfortunately, we'll probably start to see, unfortunately, more people lose their lives in these things, and it's all going to be because of the issue of debt, global debt, which is again. And these world central banks, they are going to get paid one way or the other. And that's the scary part of it all. Again, because they can't forgive the debt. Because again, if they forgive the debt, the currency hyperinflates. And there's no doubt about it. There's no way to disconnect one from the other. So you can just see how this is going to play out.
Greg, thank you very much for being on the X22 Report Spotlight. Once again, how can people see your work?
Go to my site, traderschoice.net. Everything you could probably want to find out about me is right there. And I hope people take advantage of it. I have a free ebook available right now. Just download it. It's really free. I'm not asking for anything. Go to my website and check it out.
Greg, once again, thank you very much for being on the Spotlight.
Great to be here. Thank you.